Welcome to Tuesday Talk Live. I'm Vera Sadler. I am your host, and I am here with my friend Sharon Talton. And tonight we're going to have a great and invigorating conversation tonight about God's healing, God's purpose, and just how God has restored Miss Sharon and then the work God has allowed her to do. But I am from VLS Coaching and Women in Life Ministries. And again, I'm your host, Vera Sadler. And I am so excited to be here again tonight to be able to have a conversation. My goal is always, Miss Sharon, to bring guests on to the program and to the talk, whatever they want to call it, that can just speak to things that I think really will help and really will get our guests talking or thinking about their needs, because lots of times we don't touch on, or people don't think about some things that, in conversation that will pop up. And so when you and I were having this conversation, I said, "Oh my gosh, I need to have you on the show so that you can tell people this story, because I'm sure there are many others that are wondering, how do I do this? How do I manage this?" And what you do to me is so spectacular. But first of all, I just want you to tell our guests who you are, where, whatever God gives you to share about who you are, where you come from. And then we're going to get into a little bit about your miraculous story, your healing, what the Lord has done for you. And from that, I want to talk a bit about now what he's done for you and how you come through that and what you've used that now as a ministry to other people. So take a moment and just tell the people who you are.
My name is Sharon Talton, and I worked for 40 years in the hospital industry. I started out at Children's Medical Center, and I was a financial counselor, and I was over children with leukemia, sickle cell, and heart disease. And I did the medical programs to help them get Medicaid so the parents could pay the medical bills. And I did that for 20 years. Well, not just that for 20 years, but that's where I started out. I came out of school, college in 1979. And then I got bored. And I saw a lady at work, and she was using a Xerox machine. I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I handle Social Security cases." So I said, "Oh, I think I can do that." So I changed my career just like that.
Wow.
And it put me back. I'm still in the medical field, but it changed it so much to where I started doing Social Security. Had no clue about what I was doing. But the thing is, every time I got to work, I would sit at my desk and I would write a prayer out on my calendar. And I would say, "Lord, speak through me that I can help somebody today." So that's who I am today.
Yes. And even you saying that is so important, because I think a lot of us, when we start our busy day, we're just like, "Oh my gosh, here I go again." But that right there, just alone, Lord, speak to me so that I can help somebody today. Going to work, lots of time I'm praying, I'm on a prayer call, or I'm doing something, and then I'm like, "Lord, just use me, temper me," because we're dealing with a lot of people, and we don't think. Sometimes we don't think about our work. Our pastor recently did a message on your work is ministry. We try to separate the two, right? We try to spend so much time putting them in separate boxes, but I like the fact that you said your work was ministry. You already saw it as that long before anybody had to teach you that. You saw it. But so many times, and I did want to bring that back up when you said it, that we spend too much time trying to separate work and ministry instead of seeing the vocation. You don't have to be a preacher for your work to be ministry. You don't have to be an evangelist or on a mission field. Your work, where God has you at the moment, is ministry. And if we see it as that, and we pray and we ask God to use us in the place that he has us, we can do so much more. And then we'll be so much more fulfilled at what we do. We're not just there. I'm just here. I'm punching a widget. I'm hitting the widget, punching the clock, but we would be so much more fulfilled. But Miss Sharon, tell us a little bit about what happened to cause you to need this miracle healing from the Lord.
Well, I always, like I said, I worked in the hospital, and I met so many different people. And, you never know what a person is going through until you walk in their footsteps.
Yes.
And I saw so many diagnoses in this and that. And I started out, and my daughter was in college. So I started working 2 jobs to get her out of college. And finally I got her out. And I said, oh Lord, I'm free. I can do whatever I want to. So I was just bought my house. I had just bought my first home. And I was so excited. I mean, I was just on top of the world. I'm free, college free, just me. I can do whatever I want to. And I had bought my house in October. On the 15th, I closed, and I was moving in the next day. And I love to shop. And my sister and I went out shopping, and I just didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like eating. I didn't feel like shopping. So I said, I'm going to go home, take a shower. So my sister, bossy, came in. We just set the bed up so I could go to bed. And I woke up, and I wasn't in any type of pain or anything. And I just got sick. And my sister lived like 3 doors down. So I called and I said, can you come take me to Parkland? I can't drive. So I started just getting really weak. And so she's so slow. So I decided to walk to her house, made sure everything was locked up, car garage, everything, the alarm system on. So I started to walk. And I got to the end of her driveway, a pillar, and her husband was pulling out. And I said, I can't get in the car. I can't make it to the car. So he said, I said, I can't walk any further. I'm getting ready to pass out. So at that time, my brother-in-law was a bus driver, and we lived in Oak Cliff, and I had to get to Parkland. So he drove the car like he was driving the bus.
I bet.
So when I got to the emergency room, I was because I was an employee, so I just walked right through it, right? So I was sitting on the bed, and I was telling the doctor, I don't know what's going on, but I smell blood. So he said, Miss Talton, you don't smell blood? I said, yes, I do, because I can smell my body. You can smell your body before anybody can smell your body, because your body sends out certain hormones. And he said, Miss Talton, you do not smell. I said, yes, I do. Don't argue with me, because in my career, I had to argue with judges. So my argument came out. And I said, yes, I do. I smell blood, and I don't know where it's coming from, but it's coming out of my body. Next thing I know, I have passed out on top of the doctor. I was laying on him. So they rushed me to a room, and I opened my eyes just briefly. I had all these doctors around me with goggles on, and I was actually bleeding out. And most of the doctors at Parkland owe me favors, and they knew me. And Dr. Gonzalez, and he's a liver specialist. And I looked at him and I said, he said, Miss Talton, I'm going to take care of you. And I said, yeah, because you owe me a favor. And that was the last thing I know. I had been in surgery. I had been in the hospital 3 weeks then.
Wow.
And when I woke up, it was just like, where am I? So then
3 weeks?
3 weeks. So I had surgery, emergency surgery, and I got home. I stayed home 2 weeks, and I had to call my sister again. Can you come and rush me back to the hospital? I'm sick again. So when they rushed me back the second time, I was in the hospital 3 months, in a coma 2 months.
Lord have
and
mercy.
Before I passed out, I was saying, Lord, my life is in your hand. So whatever is going on, my life is in your hand. And everybody said, were you scared? I said, no, I didn't feel anything. And I can't tell you what happened to me being sick, because God fixed it so I couldn't remember. I don't remember anything that I went through. Nothing. Wow. And I would always say, you know what? My life is in God's hands, because that's what my dad always said. Whatever you're going through, your life is in God's hands. So my pastor at the time came, and I'm kind of goofy, you're goofy. And I woke up and he was praying over me. And I looked at him. I said, Rabel, why are you praying this death prayer over me? I said, God ain't told me I was going nowhere. He ain't said nothing to me. And I said, you need to leave. I'm telling my pastor this. You need to go. And I stayed in the house in an ICU in a coma 2 months. I came out the coma, and I went to a nursing home because I had laid down flat on my back for 3 months. I had
My
to
Lord.
learn how to sit up. I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to brush my teeth. I had to do it all over again. So I got January the 1st, I was at home. And of course, I got bored, and I didn't know what to do because my job, I had to help people. I had to take them to court. I had to talk all day, nonstop. But that was my joy. That was my joy. And then what made it even better, I had walked in their footsteps. And I called my girlfriend. She's a Social Security judge. And I said, "You think I need to file for Social Security?" She said, "Sharon, you need to get up and go to work." So I got discharged from the nursing home, the hospital, everything. I was back home in January. I was back to work in February because
Wow. So
I was
at
the.
this time, slow down. At this time, you didn't know what happened. You had to learn all your motor skills again. And it sounds like it happened rapidly, though. That
Mm-hmm,
God did a serious healing in your body,
mm-hmm,
that it wasn't just, first of all, to know that your body was going through and you didn't just sit there. God allowed you to be able to get to the help.
mm-hmm,
I just want to pause so people can just bask in that for a moment, that you didn't stop and just, no one found you laid somewhere passed out, or even, but God allowed you to get to the hospital
mm-hmm,
and for you to get to the emergency services that you need. So I just thank God for that, Miss Sharon, and that
mm-hmm,
you're here to tell this story.
mm-hmm,
And that, even when the doctors don't know it, He will give us wisdom to say something's not right.
mm-hmm,
And even the second time, look, I'm not feeling the greatest. Let's so that is just alone to tell people, pay attention to your body.
mm-hmm,
Pay attention to what you're feeling. Don't just pass it off like, this is weird. No, pay attention. Go
mm-hmm,
get the help you need and do it quickly. Don't just pass it off, because God gives us these signals and these warning signs for a
mm-hmm,
reason, right? He's telling
mm-hmm,
us something for a reason. And it doesn't always have to be drastic, or it may be a hospital stay, but it doesn't always have to be the end of something. It could
mm-hmm,
be the beginning of something new, fresh, and just the healing of the rest your body needed.
mm-hmm. Because I had worked, oh God, 2 jobs, nonstop, single parent. My daughter goes all the way to Howard University, and I'm thinking, oh God, she got all these scholarships. Goodness. And guess what? Did transfer Texas scholarship. So it didn't all, I mean, I had some help through scholarships, but it would have been a free ride if she would have stayed in Texas. So there was something else I was going through. But you know what? I didn't stress about it. I said, because it was a blessing
Mm-hmm.
that I was able to work 2 jobs. But then my body got tired,
Mm-hmm.
and I ignored it for the
Mm-hmm.
longest. So finally, because I would say, you know what? I go in this office and I'm running out. I'm running out of things to say to people, to encourage them that you're going to be okay. And my thing when I met people, I would say, I got you. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
would tell people. I got you. Don't lay in this bed and worry about bills not being paid, or, how much. I said, I got you. Don't worry about it. So still hadn't walked in their shoes. And then my time came, and I started walking in their shoes. So
Right.
now I had a different, I mean,
Perspective.
it just boosted me back up to like really, really enjoy my job again, because I love people. I loved what I was doing. And my boss called me and said, when are you coming back to work? And I'm going, I don't know. I don't know. So he said, you know, can't no one do this like you can? I haven't, I'm in trouble over here because the board is on me because these cases are not being moved. People are not paying their bills. And I'm going, well, what? So I told him, I said, well, Bob, I tell you what, I'll come back, but I can't come and work all day. He said, just come, just please come. So I went back, not full time, still on medical leave to help him out. And this is how good God is. Because when I went back to work, my director, not Bob, the VP, she says, oh, we had to let you go because you were out over 6 months. And I said, oh, you got to let me go. So I called Bob and I said, Bob, I have no job at Parkland. He said, what? I said, well, Ben said I had to go. So he said, wait a minute. So he called HR. I didn't get laid off. I got increase in pay. And I
Wow.
have my own team.
Wow.
So that's, God steps out, and when he do, he show out.
Yes, he does. And he does it well. Oh my
He
gosh.
he did. I mean, and to be honest, he's always been with me. Always been with me from the time I left my mom's house, went off to school, and I sit back sometime and I say, nobody but God.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody but God. So now I've walked in these people's footsteps. So every time I met someone, I would say, and they would be in the bed, crying down, been diagnosed with cancer, whatever. And I would say, let's talk. Look at me. I said,
Mm-hmm.
just look at me. And I would stand back. I said, I walk up and down these halls and these stiletto heels just to meet you, to cheer him up. And I walked in 4-inch, 6-inch stiletto heels. And I would go in and I would say, look at me. If God
Wow.
can do this for me, don't you think he could do it for you? And then I would tell them the same story that I'm telling you today. He picked me up. He turned me around. He put my feet back on solid ground. I can hear, I can talk, I can speak, and I can tell you the miracle
Mm.
that God did for me. And I said, so if he could do it for you, for me, he can do it for you. So I said, quit crying. Dry your eyes
Wow.
up
Wow.
because I got you. I got you. And then I have to tell you, you got to tell me all your business. You might not want to, but I got you. And when you walk out this hospital, you're going to be all right. And that was it. And I,
And your steps were to help people
mm-hmm,
file the paperwork that they needed, because we know filing and Social Security, disability is such a process navigating that system. I mean,
mm-hmm,
most people, when they file it, they're denied, even when they're sick, and they have such struggle they go through. And some people won't even file because they think it's not worth it, even though they have viable cases. And so that's why I think what you do is so amazing, because those individuals who really need it, I mean, you have some people say, oh, I'm not going to work, I'm just going to file disability. But you have people, Miss Sharon, that I know really need the help, but they say, they filed their paperwork and it's got denied. I have these claims, and they even have doctors, paperwork, but they don't know the nuances that, if for lack of better terms, the
mm-hmm,
proper nuances, the proper way to put that paperwork through. And so I think what you do is such a talent and such a help to those people that you have. You've not only walked in their shoes, but you have served. I consider it such a service to be there to say, look, when you say, like you said, I got you. And to take that extra weight, because that financial weight, you know, um, I work with homeless people and in shelters and different places. And so many people think we have this misnomer that people are homeless because they're always doing something they have no business doing.
mm-hmm.
That is so beyond the truth. I've met people that are homeless because they've had one medical tragedy that have cost them everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they haven't had the means to pay it. They've given every bit of financial either savings or resource they've had has gone to try to pay for this medical, and now they have nothing else, and they've lost everything. They've lost work, income, the means to get to work. And just like you said, the lady said, I've had to let you go because you've been gone 6 months. Well, they didn't have a Bob fighting for them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have someone in their corner. And so here they end up in a shelter, not just them, but their family. And
Mhm.
so, for what you do to help people file these claims and properly put their paperwork through, whether it's disability, Social Security, Medicaid, that's a blessing.
Mhm.
For have someone that know the proper way, because I think for most of us it would be we don't even know how to read that paperwork can be. Oh my gosh, I've looked at it with other people. When I was in New York City, and I worked for New York City parole, and I worked with parolees, and some of them coming out of facilities, some older population coming out of facilities with mental health conditions, with just physical conditions. I've looked at that paperwork, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to get help with some of this stuff. It can be a beast.
It is. Well, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of people, as soon as they get diagnosed, especially cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, oh, I can't work. And with Social Security, you have to meet, I mean, it's long term because it's going to continue,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to meet a criteria to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you get denied unless you come in and you've ignored your diagnosis and it has metastasized or it's gotten worse
Mm-hmm.
and it's causing other body functions to fail. And then you have to look at income and resources. So that's the biggest issue where people start to lose everything because they're saying, I got to pay this, I got to pay this, I got to pay that. But the more money you have, the less chances you can get Social Security because you can be approved medically and you can be approved non-medically. And
So there's two
non-medically,
different ways.
yeah. So non-medically is based on your income and your resources. And a lot of people says, well, I got two houses and my husband do this and my husband do that. A resource is where you can sell anything to gain money, you know. So it's like and it's just like it's not that you're being denied because you're not sick, it's because your income. And then if your income where you just say I can't get anything, there's all type of resources out there that help people get sick, especially if you live in a county like Dallas County where you have a program in all hospitals that have to give charity out. So you don't have to spend all your money to pay hospital bills. And then there's the Affordable Act program. People call it the Obamacare. And they'll say, well, it costs too much. That's because you have too much money. So you're going to pay a premium because of your income. But if you have a person that's out there on workman's comp where you're only getting a third of your income, or you're out there just barely making it on,
Mm-hmm.
nothing, then you can get Obamacare insurance that's pay your premium at 100%. But people are just listening to other people who don't have a clue of
That
what they're talking about.
that part.
That part. And like people will come and say, oh, you're sick. You can get Social Security. And the biggest thing that used to get me all the time, and I be saying, what do you, what kind of money? Oh, I get my Social Security. I be saying, okay, what type of Social Security? Social Security Administration is the name of a department, a company that helps you. And under that umbrella, it have SSI, which is Social Security Supplementary Insurance. And that's for people who don't have enough work quarters to get disability. And then you have SSDI, which is Social Security Disability, where you have enough work quarters to get your disability if they find you disabled. And then a lot of people don't know that before you get your SSDI, you can get your SSI to keep you going until you get your SSD, because before they start paying you, you have to be disabled for 6 months. So in that time, you can get the SSI with Medicaid to help you until your disability go into effect.
Oh wow, this is so good. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna stop for a minute because you said something that really I hope everybody's listening to. You need to get the proper information.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different I want to call lanes
Mm-hmm.
that you can go down. But if you're listening to someone who only has a piece of it, It's sort of
Mhm.
like when we when we take scripture out of context.
Mhm.
We'll go
Same
down a
thing.
rabbit trail that makes no sense, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I grew up under spiritual leaders that said you need history, context, and culture. And if you
Mhm.
don't put those together, you're going to definitely have the scripture out. It doesn't make sense, and you're
That
using
is.
it in error.
Mhm.
So it's just from what I'm listening you say, we need to have all of this in context, and
Mhm.
we need to be in the right lane for us, for yourself individually. And
Mhm.
you need to get someone who knows what they're talking about, like
Mhm.
yourself, who a specialist in this field to help you. Don't just go to your friend who tried to file it, was denied, and they all don't, or your friend who's looked up one thing, because I'm not a specialist in this field. Sometimes people will call me and say, "Oh, I heard you do that." I said, "Well, I've dabbed in it, but I'm not the specialist. I know what I've done for myself, but I'm not a specialist." People ask me about certain things. I'm like, but there are things that I have really done a lot of work and research and history on that I can help individuals. This definitely is totally out of my lane. I don't know
Mhm.
anything about it. I just heard some things now. I've heard the same thing about Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act has high premiums. But I've also heard some people say it's worked well. So just to hear you say, I never even knew that the hospital had so much charity that
Mhm.
they had to give out. I mean, that's new, but so now those listening to us, please. I'm here. This is Vera Sadler again with your Tuesday Talk Live with VLS Coaching. I'm here with Miss Sharon, and we're talking tonight about the different things that you can do. First of all, about how God healed her back up, but her work with individuals with Social Security, Medicaid, and disability. And just to hear, you can get the SSI before you get SSID, but individuals don't know these different lanes,
Mhm.
Sharon, and how we immediately fall for the trap that I can't.
Mhm.
Then we get stuck.
And the attorneys, they're only interested in your SSD and not your SSI because that's how they get paid.
Okay.
And and a lot of people just even you like one of the members at the church, and someone said Miss Sharon can help you, and I'm going, what. So she came and she says, I went to Parkland, and Parkland said I can't come to them anymore. And I said, yes, you can, but you just have to pay it now. You can't use your Parkland Health Plus. So she said, why? I said, because you no longer live in Dallas County. You have to be a Dallas County resident to live to use Parkland. But you live in Waxahachie, and Baylor Medical Center has a charity program. So she said, well, I really like Parkland. And she says, but I just came to the United States. And I was going, well, I don't know. I said, if it was an emergency, I could help get your medical bills paid, because people who are here in the United States that are not US citizens, we still pay their medical bills. People don't know that, but we do. And it's called emergency Medicaid. So, and I'm going, oh my goodness. And so I said, do you have a green card? She said, no, I became a citizen about a month ago. And I said, girl, I got you. Don't worry about it. So she said, well, how long it's going to take? I said, give me 2 weeks and you'll get a check. And the thing is, it's called aged. And as soon as you become a U.S. citizen, you have all the rights that I have. The very first day when you are sworn in to be a U.S. citizen, you have that right. And then she was over 65 years old. That's how I knew she'll get her check in 3 weeks, because you're now aged. So all I wrote on her application, aged. I didn't have to send any medical records in or nothing, because she was a U.S. citizen. And I can't copy your citizenship certificate. That's against the law. And I said, this is what I need you to do, because I can't be driving folks around like I used to. I had a bus. So I said, go to the Social Security office, get in line. Your application is already there. Just show your city where you're a U.S. citizen. And I said, then you still can go back to Parkland, even though you don't live in Dallas County, because now you have Medicaid. And a lot of people don't know that each hospital, when they say, do you have Superior Medicaid or do you have this Medicaid? each hospital have a Medicaid that they have to accept through Social Security. And if you don't have it, the hospital can switch it over just like that. So
Wow.
she still have her doctors, and she's still going to Parkland, and now she gets a check every month.
Wow.
So it's so many people out there that don't know. And a lot of homeless people, trust me, when they see, I look at them on the corner. It was so funny because one day we had this homeless guy and he was on the corner. I said, "What are you doing?" And I was coming off the freeway. You know, they stand on the corner. He go, "Oh, hey, Miss Todd." I said, "Why are you on this corner?" "Well," I said, "you get a check every month and you get food stamps." I said, "You need to get off this corner." So I guess he found him another corner. But
That's
most,
funny.
you have to watch, especially the ones in the wheelchairs. I said, because if you lived in Dallas County, you saw me. I know so many people. Well, so many people know me because I can't remember everybody's names. And it's just like, I still stop and I talk to them. I have so many homeless people that don't have to be homeless. They choose to be homeless. They choose to live out there on the streets. And then it depends on how old you are. I had a guy from New York City. He had he had master's degrees, business degrees, because he carried them around in his pocket. But he chose to live on the street. It was so cold, and how got him in a nursing home because his feet froze
Oh
and they
Lord.
was rotting off. And that dude got to feeling better, and he walked out the nursing home. And it was paid for. It could have been paid for, because at Parkland, if you have to go to a nursing home, it was my job to get you in that nursing home, telling them this guy's going to get Social Security or this woman is going to get Social Security. So Parkland pays for your nursing home until I could get you on Social Security, and then the nursing home would have to refund Parkland back. So there's a lot. If you live in Fort Worth, you got John Peter Smith, that's a county hospital. If you live in Waxahachie, you got Baylor Scott and White, they give out charity. Wherever you live, whatever county you're in, you do not have to not go to the doctor. You can go to the doctor.
So, if someone goes to these hospitals, are there particular people they need to ask for within the hospital?
Well, when you go to, especially if you go to the emergency room, they now tell you we have a
So
charity
they do
program.
tell.
Yeah, because it's required to tell them, and that's in Texas, because Texas don't have Medicaid for people without children, and you can't get Medicaid if you don't have if you have children, you can get Medicaid, but it's not going to be long term like your kids can get it.
Mhm.
So it is so much out there. It is so much out there. And I met a lady from California, and she was saying, she was on Social Security and she wanted to move to Texas. And I said, "Well, why?" I said, "If you move to Texas, you're going to lose all your benefits, because it depends on what state you come from or what type of benefits you receive." I said,
Mhm.
"You get Medi-Cal and you get all this money from disability." I said, "Texas won't give you Medicaid because of your income." I said, "You won't get that extra stipend check because of your income." And that's because the cost of living in California is higher than Texas.
Right.
But if you come to Texas from Louisiana, you get more because the cost of living in Texas is higher than Louisiana, because Louisiana is a poor state. So you just have to think. Don't ever think that I cannot get help, because there's help out there.
Mhm.
But the hospitals is not going to tell you that if it don't benefit them.
And the only time it benefits them if they think they're not going to get paid.
Well, when you have a long hospital stay, and they'll go, "Oh, but you can have a long hospital stay and not be medically disabled under Social Security guidelines." because your diagnosis have not met that medical criteria. And I tell people, they'll say, well, my doctor said, and I say, your doctor word is no better than mine. I can tell you whatever the doctor tell you, and it still won't get you approved. I says, based on your medical records, your
Mm,
tests, your lab work. The
mm.
doctor knows kind of help, but there are things that they look for so you can meet that medical criteria for getting Social Security benefits. And then again, you have to look at your income and resources. So I had this guy that had cows. He had 4 cows, and he owned a farm. Were you over resourced?
Are you serious?
Yes. Do you know how much a cow costs?
No.
Cows are very, very expensive. So if you sell that cow, now you have income.
Oh my gosh.
But if you have chickens, you're not over resource.
Oh my gosh.
It depends on what type of animal you got.
This is so much information. It's really good information
It
because
is.
I don't think it's stuff we think about or we consider when documentation needs to be filled out, and it's stuff that, really needs to be thought out. And so you have to be what I'm hearing, you have to be very meticulous. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be well informed. You just can't go with this haphazardly. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
very well informed. You have to get with someone that knows the rules,
Mm-hmm.
knows what to submit on your behalf, someone that really wants to help you and can help you, not
Mm-hmm.
just someone that says just put this down, but someone that really
Mm-hmm.
knows the rules, understands the criteria requirements, and what they're looking for to help you submit this documentation. um, and I love what you said about different states have different things, because people move and they go to different places and they think it's going to be the same, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Every state different benefits, but to know, for individuals that are hearing this conversation, to know that there are resources out there, resources available, that all hope is not lost, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and God can make a way out of no way. We know that He can open
Mm-hmm.
a door. He can cause things when man says no. He can give a yes.
Mm-hmm.
The heart of the king is in the Father's hand, and He can do with it as He wills. And we sometimes forget to say, Father, please do this for me. Father, open a door, make a way,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
watch Him do it. And so I believe He can do that for us and through us and with people. He can have you sitting there and someone can say, did you realize that we have this? Did you
Mm-hmm.
realize this is available? And resources are there for those who need it. Um, so I'm very grateful for the things that you're sharing with those who are listening, so that they know there are possibilities untold. I mean, it's not going to always, be what you expect, but it'll be what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And because sometimes we want this grandiose thing, but it's like, no, God knows what you need.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he'll provide for you, And unfortunately, I couldn't get Social Security benefits because as sick as I was in the nursing home, I went through 15 surgeries in 1 month.
My Lord.
In 1 month, I went to surgery every day for 15 days. So the first thing you think, well, she can get Social Security. But my diagnosis did not meet the medical criteria for Social Security filing.
And you knew the criteria.
I knew the
And
criteria.
you were the one helping people file all the time.
Mm-hmm. And then the thing about it, every time I would meet people, the thing is, I would have to say, you have to tell me everything financially, whatever's going on, I have to know. And that's how I know how I can help you.
Do you
And
think? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and a lot of people, they'll say, well, I don't want, well, and I tell them, you can tell me anything you want to. You can tell me you don't have a bank account. I said, but when I set this application in, they're going to zoom through all your business. So they know what you have. They
Mhm.
know what you don't have. But the saddest thing, I met one guy, and he did, between him and his mom, his wife, he were over income, and he was really sick. And I said, you're gonna have to separate from your wife.
Oh my Lord.
And a lot of people say, why old people don't leave, you know, they don't, it's like, because older people know, if I got with you and we got married, I'm going to lose some of my benefits.
Wow.
So that's why you have so many single women who spouse or men, spouse pass away, because if they remarry again, it changed their whole outlook of income.
Mm. So what would you say is the biggest drawback other than that people do not disclose information or do not have you or do not file?
Well, a lot of people, I don't know, like, they call the 1-800 number, and those people at the 1-800 number, customer service people, and they have to make a quota. So they tell you anything to get you off the phone. And I tell people that they are making their quota, and that's
Mm.
not right. And they would tell me, well, Sharon, you don't know. I said, when I used to do this, I would have Social Security have classes for people like me, where they teaches us, the people who not process the claim, who make the decision after uh, DDS make the decision that you're medically disabled. So there's two areas. You got to be medically disabled and non-medically. And those people who make the medical decision come back and say, oh yeah, you're disabled, you can get Social Security. But then you have the person that make the non-medical decision. And that non-medical decision say, oh, you own 3 cows, so now you're over resourced. Or you're married and this is your spouse's income. You can, if he have enough in the bucket, because they don't say money, they say the bucket, to give you some benefits. And your benefits will put you over resource or income, then you can be medically disabled, but financially you're over income or over resource. So that kicks you out. And then a lot of people will say, well, I don't know why I got uh, denied. I say, yes, you do, because they send you a letter and they explain everything in that letter. And then if you don't understand the letter, and I know going to the Social Security office is crazy, but you need to go up there so they can explain it to you.
Hmm.
They didn't just say, oh, we're not going to give it to you. But a lot of people, as soon as they get sick, they file for Social Security. And that's not good, because you're supposed to be disabled for at least 6 months to a year before you even be eligible for Social Security. But again, it depends on your diagnosis. Like,
Hmm.
it depends. Like, some men will quit as soon as they heard prostate cancer. You're not disabled with prostate cancer until it metastasizes. Women who have breast cancer, as soon as they get diagnosed, they say, oh, I got breast cancer, I'm going to file for Social Security. Anything that can be removed from your body to make you better, you are not disabled. Anything, like a lot of people say, oh, I had a stroke. If you are not immobile, then you're not disabled.
Wow.
People who have congestive heart failure. Oh, I got congestive heart failure. You're not disabled until that heart start messing with your kidneys, messing with something else
Wow.
going on. So you're not disabled because you can take medication for that. People with bipolar. Oh, I'm going to get Social Security. Only if your medication is not controlling your bipolar. So it's so many different areas and scenarios. So when a attorney take your case, he gonna sit on it until you reach that medical criteria, and then he gonna get half of your check. Your first check, he gonna get half of it. So I tell people, like me, attorneys used to see me and didn't want to see me. Because if you come to Parkland and I see this attorney haven't done anything for you, I'm going to take that case from that attorney and I'm going to get you approved. You're going to withdraw and you're not going to pay him anything. And you're not even going to pay me because all your money will be yours. So a lot of people are sitting out there saying, I got an attorney, but I'm still, because he's waiting. He's waiting till you're almost dead to get
Lord
your
have mercy.
security. It is. And a lot of them don't even know about Social Security. They just do it because they know they can get a percentage of your income.
Wow.
And the other thing about it is they don't know. So now I guess they're getting more educated because now they're talking about SSI. I hear that on the TV all the time. And then I even did Medicare. I tell people, I got you with your Medicare because you can get some more help. I got you. And then there's diagnosis where you can be over income, but you can get Medicaid based on your diagnosis because your diagnosis is more than Medicare can take care of. But then you have
So,
to
Miss
learn.
Sharon, do you still help process? I know you're no longer there. Do you still help individuals figure out and navigate these issues?
Yeah, if they can find me.
So, how do they find you?
Sometimes, you know what? God, people are so hard to work for, and I don't charge you. I don't charge. If they say help me, I help them. But they are so hard to work with. And like I had one lady, and I said, I'm going to get you approved in less than a month. She was on dialysis. I said, but I can't run for you because I don't have access to your medical records. So you have to help me. But if I was working, I can go in there and just say, I need these medical records. Or I could pull up my computer and get your medical records. I said, but I can't do that now. So you have to help me help you.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 6 months and
To
she
get
was
her
on
stuff.
dialysis. And that's because she was doing things. I said, when you move, you need to let me know so I can let Social Security know. If you own anything, you have to let me know so I can let Social Security know. If you living with your mama, I need to know this so I can tell you to tell them that you ain't paying your mama nothing so they won't mess with you financially. And she was doing the total opposite of what I was telling her. So finally, it got to the point where they're saying, we're going to have to stop your dialysis because we're not getting paid. So with that, she started cooperating. Well, Miss Talton, I said, whatever you do in your life, you have to let me know. And then you see this signature on this form. When they send you a letter, I'm going to get that letter. So I know what you're not doing. And that's the only way I got her on board. I can take you to a hearing and not even show up. All I'm going to do is write your brief and you just be there. So at that point, I was going, nah, I'm retired. I'm not doing this. But if someone come to me and say, can you help me? It's just not me to say no.
So, do they look you up on Facebook or
Well,
how?
people who know me refer them to me.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not doing anything because I'm retired. But if someone called and said, can you help me? Or I have this friend, uh, even just by word of mouth, I'll help you.
So,
You know,
I'm going to say to the guests listening to this show tonight, if you are in desperate, I don't want a flood of individuals. But if you are in this area, in this local area, and if you are in desperate need of having some help with your Social Security, your paperwork, inbox me at I have the VLS coaching site at my Vera. I'm on Facebook or on LinkedIn. You can inbox me, and then I can get in touch with Miss Sharon for you. I will be the segue for it. So if we have someone that is in desperate need of contacting her and just really needing help, I will be that segue, and then I will reach out to her and make that introduction. Would that be okay, Miss Sharon?
that'll be fine. But if I tell you you're not disabled, don't get mad.
Exactly, because I think what you have laid out for our guests listening tonight is the actual how to, and that there is really requirements. And I think that's what most people have missed that they're really, you know, oh, they just deny, deny, deny. But really, what you've laid out for our guests listening to the program tonight, that there is not just deny, deny, but there really is specific criteria that you have to meet, and you have to meet them in, certain order, certain guidelines, and the resources. Like I didn't know that if you have a farm animal, and I will tell you this. I remember working with individuals that, like young ladies that need to get childcare, daycare assistance. If you have your own car, well, I'm paying on a car. Well, it's still considered an asset. That's an asset, so which puts you over a certain income level, and so you don't need our help. Why? If I don't have a car, I can't get to work.
Well, you know what? You can have one car. You can own a car. You can have one house. You just can't have two.
So there's different rules for all these different
Yeah.
programs,
But
and
if
you
you're out there
need to know
driving an iBot, that's the name of that big expensive
Maybach.
Maybach, you can't get Social Security if you can afford that.
Right.
Because they're going to ask you what type of car you drive.
Right.
It's on there. So you can own a car, you can have a house, but you just can't have two.
So they just want to know, and to know the rules, to know what's required, to know the criteria is so important. So I just appreciate you coming on tonight, sharing a little bit about your story and then your journey and how you've helped individuals, but really to lay out for people the nuances of something that has plagued a lot of people with navigating Social Security and disability, but also the fact to know that don't just think that, one, don't go to the hospital because you think that you can't get help, because there is a way to go get your medical help. Don't keep ignoring our bodies. Go get the help that you need. And the hospital should be telling you about these financial and charity programs they have, and if they're not, ask for them. That's what I would say from listening tonight to the things that you've shared. And then secondly, if you need help, don't just immediately say, oh, I have this diagnosis, I'm going to file for Social Security, because that's not always the answer. Look for what resources you have. And then if that's the route you believe you should take, then get with someone who knows the rules, not just, and, attorney is not your first answer, but get with someone that possibly knows the rules that can help you navigate the system. And if you need be, inbox us and we will help you find that resource. Again, this is Vera Sadler with VLS Coaching, and I have been here tonight with my guest, Sharon Talton. And I thank you so much for joining me, Miss Sharon. And I will see you guys again next week on Tuesday Talk Live.